Welcome to Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we have a first half an hour. We've got an entertaining first half an hour, and then the last hour and a half, we're going to talk politics, and we're going to talk about current events. So before we get started, again, we are filming live from the phenomenal city of Highland Park, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Glenda McDonald, and you can also hear us and view us in the Detroit area under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Mike Duggan for Detroit. But before we get started, just want to mention there's been a lot of activity that's been going on in and around the Detroit and the state of Michigan, and for that fact, for the United States. We're going to talk a little bit with my guests on the last hour and a half of the show with Mr. Norman Clement and with Miss Alexis Ramsey, and we're going to pretty much talk about what's happened when it comes down to the a little bit about the Olympics. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened with the hostage release and some of the other events that are going on when it comes down to that day next Tuesday that we're hoping that we can determine a lot of people that are vying for your support in the primary election on August the 6th. So we're going to have a power-packed 2 hours of entertainment and current event information. So now we can get started, and we've got a special guest, and she is back by popular demand. And her name is Miss Cassie Amos. Miss Amos, thank you and welcome to Truth to Power.
Good morning. I am so happy again to be here, and I really appreciate the invitation. It's always a blessing to me if I can share what I've been blessed with, so thank you.
Well, we know that you're on you've got a lot of things on your agenda for this trip that you are making from California to come here to the state of Michigan, and then on your way to another Midwestern state once you leave from here. So we are very grateful to have you on the show today, and I know you have some very inspirational messages that you have shared with us previously, and we're hoping that you can do the same thing again today.
Well, it is my hope as well. So you asked me about my gift.
Mm-hmm.
And I did share with you that it took me a long time to actually embrace it as a gift. So when I finally did, I self-published a book of poetry, and I probably only had 33 pieces at the time. And when I said, thank you, God, I'm grateful for this, I couldn't take a shower, I couldn't drive down the street, there were just words coming at me all the time, thoughts and ideas. And so this is the piece where I actually thanked God for the gift. And it is aptly entitled, Thank You. It says, thank you, God, for my poetic gift, to ease some sorrow or some spirit to lift, to be able to say what someone needs to hear, to nurture the soul and maybe bring someone cheer. Thank you, God, for the words that I feel, words that may help some broken heart heal, words that now flow from me line after line to form a new poem that is totally mine. It took me a while to accept it as real, that words written by me could have such an appeal. Let me accept with humility what you've given to me, and to know that I finally found my true destiny. So thanks again, God. I'll use it with care to try and help someone, and always to share words that tumble unjumbled into verses sublime. I'm so grateful to you, God, for my gift of rhyme.
And that's so interesting because as you're speaking, and I guess from myself to others that may hear it, it always tickles me when I think about what is she going to rhyme with the word. And when you said sublime, and I'm like, okay, I think the only word that's going to come is rhyme. So that was the word that I said, okay, now how is she going to phrase that in her last little sentence when it said rhyme?
Isn't it, and like I said, it's not something that I have to force. Most times I'm on the second verse before I've even written the first verse. So it just, I think in rhyme, I guess. So the next one is kind of in the same vein as that, where I am embracing it and I know that I really don't have a choice. And so the name of this is called I'll Write. Words banging like cymbals clanging inside of my busy head, verses ringing, songs a singing, can't put my mind to bed. Thoughts assailing, ideas prevailing through my sleepless nights. God inspiring, never tiring. All right already, all right.
No, I didn't have that one, you know, as far as say how you're going to rhyme that one with the words that. But tell me, you know, if there was some aspiring poets that wanted to write, just kind of tell them a little bit about what, you know, do you have a inspiration first and then you write based on that? Do you have a phrase that comes about? Is there an activity? Is there an event? What is it that first you have to go and think about and you revolve your poetry around that?
I get the question. There is no absolute formula for me. There are times when I'll get an inspiration and just kind of kick it around in my head. And then there are times like you mentioned a topic to me yesterday. And I went and jotted something down, and 5 minutes later I was done. So it might need a little tweaking in due time, but for right now I'm going to share that one with you at the end of our segment, because it is, you know, politically inspired. So I have done pieces that inspire women to be okay with where they are, however they are at that moment. And I've done a lot of women's empowerment seminars and inspirational seminars. So I've got a couple of pieces I'd like to share, and the first one is called The Power of One, and the second one is from a collection that I did for cancer survivors.
Okay.
And we know that there are so many people out there dealing with that dreaded disease. So I'm going to share those two pieces really quick with you.
Sure.
Okay, the first one is The Power of One. Why would you think that alone I'm not whole? That some unknown man holds the key to my soul, to unlock my spirit and make me complete? Or that I'm not a whole woman unless we should meet? To tell you the truth, I'm not buying that line. Won't give someone power that's actually mine. Won't think any less of myself while unmated. Won't accept the notion that my happiness is fated. I'll get out and enjoy the power of one. Won't let dateless nights keep me from having some fun. I'll enjoy the amazing woman I've come to be, enriching the life of the person called me. Now, if someone wonderful should happen along to brighten my world and give my heart a new song, I'll embrace him and all that he offers to me. I'll give him my love that's invaluable, free. But until that time comes, I'm still happy with me. And I won't fret about love, because what will be, will be. My regrets are all over, my doubts are all done. I'll totally embrace being the power of one.
Now, you know, I'm listening to it, and I think about when I was in school, and we talked about the word, and the word for the day is iambic pentameter. And that word, you know, those words right there is what really kind of makes me think in terms, say, about how poets have to, and I'm sure songwriters have to do the same thing. So that there is the iambic pentameter that goes on during the poetry, and how it just flows.
It just
right.
Yeah.
And, and I'm hearing that, and I see that in how you speak it, that the same thing. Plus, I see you use the intonation in your voice when you want to enunciate a word that really means, that's the catchphrase word in that, or words in that
Exactly.
sentence itself.
And I might be a little vain, but I think I can do my poetry better than other people because they're my stories. And people say, "Oh, I love your voice inflection, and I love how you do that." And I said, "Well, I remember a lot of them because I do remember the story, and it feeds itself.
Mhm.
So once I get it rolling, I know what the next thing is going to be. And so I probably have about 50 committed to memory, but that's still just a fraction of what I've written. But I enjoy it so very much, as you can probably tell. And so when I am blessed with an opportunity to share, it blesses me. So
And it blesses others when you share it.
Amen. And that's the beauty of a gift. It's not yours to hold on to.
Hmm.
It's yours to share. So this one, again, is from the Survivor Series. I did a collection of 4 pieces that are an encouragement to cancer survivors. And so I've recited them at the Race for the Cure, at the Relay for Life. I've auctioned the pieces off, and sometimes fetching a lot of money. And I was like, it's so interesting that someone finds what I do so worthwhile and so worthy of purchasing for hundreds of dollars for 4 pieces. I was floored. But this is one of those pieces, and it is called You Are Not Alone. Now, I did do this for cancer survivors, but it's not just that. We're all going through things.
Mhm.
Everybody's got something that feels like the heaviest weight in the world to them. So I want to encourage people to reach out to those that love you and that you love, because you are not alone. And here we go. You feel no one's ever hurt as badly as you, that no one understands what you're going through, that of all life's tragedies, yours is the worst. But there's no emotion out there that you have felt first. You are not alone in your sorrows and tears. You are not alone in your pain and your fears. Though at times your troubles seem too hard to bear, there is someone who's willing your heartbreak to share. You question the Lord, asking, why this for me? Why lead me into darkness where I cannot see? The way out of this situation seems bleakest at best. Why should I be the one who's put through this test? You're not alone when you're lonely or blue, because someone somewhere feels the same as you do. So open your heart but no man's an island, so open your heart and embrace the circle of which you're a part. I would never dismiss your anguish as small. And that's not what I'm trying to convey here at all. Just that the human condition gives us common emotion, that there's nothing new under the sun is the notion. So you're not alone. Someone's felt that way too. And just like they all made it, believe you'll get through. I'll celebrate each victory and each burden I'll share. You're not alone, because I'll always be there.
Perfect, perfect. And that's something that people don't really realize,
Yes.
that they're not alone.
Right.
There are others, and there's always the Heavenly Father.
Amen. Amen. And people need to take advantage of church groups, of support groups, and just your friendship village. I live in California now, but I don't have the village of women there that I have in Michigan. Love you, Michigan. So it is, and it's a bit isolating not to have those friends that I can call on and, oh, hey, let's go grab a coffee and let's get lunch and sit and talk about whatever you need to bring to talk about. Whatever is on your heart, you can bring that to the table with true friends. So I really appreciate the value of friendship now that I'm kind of away from my friends, but I do keep in touch.
But you know, that does happen a lot of times. You know, it's that old adage, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you really don't really value or appreciate friendships or even family until they leave.
Exactly.
Or until you leave them.
Exactly.
So there's a big difference right there. And then, as they say too, you want to express your feelings towards them while they can receive them.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and I tell everybody on my shows, you know, to make certain that you let somebody know that you love them.
Indeed.
And that you care about them.
Indeed.
Because that one, just like your poems are the gifts that keep giving and giving and giving. I guess just like, what do they say about MasterCard or Visa? You know, how it keeps giving and giving. But that's the good thing about poetry and about songs, you know, for that fact.
Just real quick, if you go on YouTube, there's only one of my songs that I've put out there even at all, but it is called Do Over by Cassie Amos. And see if you like it. So give me a like if you do. As you talk about making the most of all of the time that you have, I have a piece called Squeeze the Moment. Now, you've heard people say seize the moment, and I get that. But I want to take it a step further, that you not only grab that moment, but you get everything you can from that moment. So again, this is entitled Squeeze the Moment. I'll squeeze the moment, enjoy all life can give. No holding back feelings, just one life to live. There's no dress rehearsal, right now's the real thing. I want to be ready for all life can bring. I want to squeeze happiness out of dark misery. I want to squeeze joy from the pain that I see. I want to be ready for all life has in store. I want to be willing to do so much more. The time that we're here is for just a few years, and I will not waste precious time drowning in tears. I want to embrace every last moment of pleasure. I want to know true love and joy beyond measure. I will not let opportunities pass by. Even if I should fail, at least I will try. So I'll seize the moment, grab all the gusto I can, then squeeze all from that moment as my ultimate plan. Am I getting any snaps today?
You are getting umpteen thousand
Am
snaps.
I getting some snaps? I
But
don't know.
we're gonna let the people, when they go and they chime in, because one of the things I want to do right now is, if somebody wants to share how much they appreciate what you do and the gifts that you possess, what is the website, or what is the email address, or how can they get in contact with you to get more information?
The email address is CassieAmos113, all one word, CassieAmos113 @gmail.com. I do own the website CassieAmos.com, and as I shared on Tuesday, that will be in development, that people can buy written pieces and spoken pieces and music. So we do plan to develop CassieAmos.com quite extensively. So I will appreciate any encouragement. And of course, when you're ready to buy something or do something or hear something, you'll go to the site, and that will be CassieAmos.com. We are headed into another historic election. When we had President Barack Obama, I was watching the family in Grant Park, and there were tears just fall. I had a piece of paper, and the tears there. If I do have it, but there are tear stains on the sketch of the poem that I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is called President Barack Obama. That a man be judged by the content of his character was the dream Dr. King once did share. I never thought it would happen so soon that a man of color would ever in their eyes compare. To capture the heart of a nation, to make Dr. King's dream come true. But one man named Barack Obama has given this country faith brand new. So smart, so sensitive, and so charismatic, those things that God only can give. He's dedicated his talents to serving others. It's the only life he's chosen to live. And now we see him standing before us with a most noble journey ahead, embraced by the world despite his color, living a dream that some thought was dead. The change in times is so historic. Never thought in my life this would be. A black man chosen to run for the presidency, or that he'd have a real chance for victory. You've already won a race that once seemed lost. You've renewed my faith in man. You pushed for a change, and America heard you. And so I truly believe, yes, we can.
Absolutely.
So I did that on November 4th, 2008. And it was just such a moment. And so I hopefully will be able to write, instead of what? History? Her story?
Her story.
Her story. And so in order to do that, I've heard some talk that I'm not real happy about hearing. And it's people saying, well, I'm just not going to vote. Well, I don't want, just pettiness and stuff. We don't need to hear that. So yesterday, when you told me that there was going to be political conversations this morning, I went and wrote this piece in about 5 minutes. So again, you all excuse me if it needs a little brushing up, and in time it will have. And so it's called No Apathy Allowed. Apathy is not an option. There's just too much they can take. Maybe you don't realize that the fate of our liberties is at stake. You say that you don't like the choices, that there's really only one, because if you don't vote for democracy, then autocracy will have won. The numbers behind that horrible choice are staggering. Can't you see that the other candidate looks out for big money, not caring at all about you and me? So many people will surely lose if your vote is never cast. The problem is that slippery slope may place your freedoms in the past. How many died for your precious rights? Can you allow our country to be lost because you don't feel like voting? Can we ever absorb that great cost? So put aside the pettiness and know that the choices are slim. You can cast your vote for our human rights, or your apathy will let him win. Apathy has no place among voters, but obviously you do. So head to the polls to make a difference. The difference between winning and losing is you. I'm sorry I stumbled that one a little bit, but again, first time really reciting it.
But that was great. I mean, there's a lot of impact and a lot of feeling that we do need to make certain that there is no voter apathy.
Absolutely.
Because the thing is that we want to make certain people don't go and say, I wonder what happened.
Right.
If they were a part and let their voices be heard, then they can't blame anybody.
Right. Because,
but someone else that might not have voted. So that's the important part. But Cassie, we really appreciate you. We got this in just under the wire.
Oh, nice.
And we definitely, give your website again before we close.
Website will be CassieAmos.com, and the email address is CassieAmos113@gmail.com, and I would love to hear from you. Even before the website gets up and running, if there's something, I do have pieces of The Power of One that I sell, and the Survivor Series, and I'm doing a reprint of my book because I'm out. But again, thank you for listening and thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure.
Well, it has been our plum-pleasing pleasure, and we hope that you have a safe trip to your next destination and enjoy your friends as you have an opportunity to go and talk and share poetry and other
Thank
thoughts
you.
with as well. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Peace and blessings.
Blessings to you.
All right, we're going to take a small pause for the cause, and we will be back with Miss Alexis Ramsey and with Mr. Norman Clements. So stay tuned to Truth to Power.
Welcome to WHPR 88.1 FM and TV 33 studios. Inside, you'll find our warm and comfortable guest lobby. For our corporate radio and television meetings, this is our executive boardroom. And for our radio shows, here's our newly renovated radio station, WHPR 88.1 FM. Broadcasting from Detroit, Highland Park, Michigan, where we welcome you to have your own radio show. Just call us at 313-868-6612. Block time is available. We're a versatile station, streaming on the World Wide Web from our radio station at www.fm881whpr.com. Walk with me down the hall to Studio B, where we broadcast live and tape our talk shows on UHF TV 33. Here's our main control room for TV 33. We also have a fully operational kitchen for luncheons and meetings. This is our brand new Virgin Islands studio, boasting live audio and video capabilities. Also on site is our 199-foot broadcast tower. Let's talk about our movie studio, Studio A, the home of Studio 33. It's designed for video shoots, photography sessions, plays, receptions, rehearsals, and concerts. The facilities boast a 35-foot ceiling, a 15-foot garage door, and Studio A is 4,000 square feet in size, with 2 endless sight walls, 3 portable screens including a green screen. Located at 166 Victor Street in Highland Park, we have gated and well-lit private parking also on the premises. For anyone interested in any of our many amenities, give us a call at 313-868-6612. That's 313-868-6612. Or email us at rjwatkinstv33@live.com. Henry Tyler, Vice President, R.J. Watkins, CEO.
Welcome back to Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we are now joined by two political pundits, and that consists of Miss Alexis Ramsey and Mr. Norman Clement. Alexis, Norman, welcome to Truth to Power today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
But, you know, during the break, it was kind of interesting just listening to some of the conversation that the two of you were having. And I guess I was, what do they call it, ear hustling?
Ear
You know,
hustling.
listening in on what you two were saying. So as I was ear hustling, you know, I just wanted to ask you both, I was hearing a variety of different topics that were being, you know, talked about between you. But let me just ask, Norman, what's on your mind this morning?
I got four things. We could talk about the National Association of Black Journalism. That was on my mind first of the week with Trump setting his presence there in Chicago, Illinois. Never been there, never accepted anything before, ever. This time he came, and I knew what he was going to do, but, you know, everybody else thought otherwise, and he pretty much basically disrespected black journalism, especially, number one, black women, black journalism, journalists all over the world, coming in saying that, you know, immigrants are taking black jobs. Still trying to find out what a black job is.
So are we supposed to be in the field?
I guess so.
Oh,
Yeah, I guess so.
all
Also, coming in and saying that Kamala was Asian at first, so when she decided to turn black. I'm not sure. A person that went to Howard University, pledged undergraduate, aka sorority incorporated, and all the time identified as a black child, a black experience. I don't know. I guess, you know, one day I'll wake up when I play spades game. That's when I realize I'm black. So, and you know, just the first question, the journalist, as a journalist, she asked a question and goes on the tirade about how she's a terrible journalist and how she asked a nasty question. Didn't greet him with a good morning. How are you doing? Asked about his children. Basically went on a tirade for 15 minutes. Didn't like the fact that he was fact checked. Didn't like the fact that, you know, the person that he chose there, Ms. Faulkner, is a Fox News pundit, but she's not even part of the National Association of Black Journalism. So how does she get on the podium? Roland Martin, several other journalists, I'm thinking the Black Enterprise groups, several other people protest. One of the board members stepped down on how this could happen, and then also the fact that they didn't send the same courtesy to VP Harris when she asked, she was doing a eulogy for our great former state representative that passed on,
Sheila Lee.
Sheila Lee. And she also had commitments to go to Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated's conclave. And so you could have made exceptions for her. They have made exceptions before. And so there's a lot of questions going on with the NABJ about why so much accommodations were made to former President Trump, where a historic representation of someone who is running for president, Vice President Harris, was not made to her. We're talking about a man that goes after journalism, hates black women. Understand that. Hates black women. How those accommodations were made to her, I'm thinking about. That's my first thing.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Alexis, did you have any remarks?
No, you know, I'm sitting here listening because I have not kept up on that piece, right? So all this is kind of new information to me. I've heard, you know, that Trump made some statements about, you know, black people. I heard that, you know, he was attacking, of course, Vice President Harris, that type of thing. But I really wasn't clear. So this is mind-boggling to me right now that, one, that the, you know, National Association of Black Journalists did not, one, make provisions for our vice president to attend. And did they push back on what Trump was saying at that time?
At the time, they did push back, and that was kind of refreshing. They didn't let him go on. He didn't like to be fact-checked.
Okay.
So they pushed back on several things. But Trump is Trump. He is going to lie. Even with our sister that got assassinated, Miss Massey in Chicago, they asked about that, about immunity for police. He says, well, I saw the video. I saw something different.
So you're saying that the woman who called for help,
Yeah.
right, who had mental illness,
Mm-hmm.
standing in her kitchen, getting ready to turn off the hot pot of water. I don't think she was getting ready to launch this hot pot of water because I think the water was still sitting on the stove at the time.
Right.
That is just what you call murder.
Right.
They came in and they murdered that woman.
Right.
And if we have someone saying they saw something different
Yeah.
than what exactly happened, now don't get me wrong. I've looked at some police, videos and said, regardless of the issue, maybe they put their hands in their pocket, they were told to do certain things, they did not. You have to react because you don't know as an officer how another person, if they're making these moves on us, what exactly is going to happen, right?
Right.
But that's straight murder. So if he doesn't see murder in that, then we're really treading a very dangerous line with the way he perceives things and from his perspective.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
where I am looking at. So this is a man that wants to give a blanket immunity to all officers.
And he does.
And most of us understand that the community, we want our officers. We believe we pay taxes for good cops.
Absolutely.
We want our cops to do the job, do the job correctly. We want good cops. That's what we look for to pay for. But we should not pay as taxpaying citizens blanket immunity for cops that are not doing their job.
No, let me just, to me, let's just, to me, we all talk about problems and solutions.
Right.
Darwin knows I am a solution-based person. My thing is I believe that officers, the same way as any other elected official or person they need to begin to have their own insurance. I think that if officers had to be insured for, just like anyone else, right? Dishonesty insurance, whatever it is, fidelity insurance, whatever you want to call it, right? If they were entitled to be insured, when they have issues like this, then guess what? That insurance company would be responsible. Instead of the taxpayer, when the lawsuit comes towards the city, it would go after that particular officer's insurance. But guess what? After so many times, he can no longer be insured. After so many complaints, after so many police brutality, situations. So I think that there's a solution to the problem.
Yes.
And even if you wanted to try to give a blanket, I wouldn't say all the way blanket immunity, but or say, hey, we will take it to the insurance company, let them do the investigation. Most insurance companies going to try to figure out, a way to say, hey, to minimize how much payment they actually have to take out. But for me, I think officers should have to have their own insurance and liability insurance. And I think we could possibly get somewhere with police reform.
Yes, I think police reform is definitely needed. And on top of that, several politicians, several communities are also taking the step to, okay, if the police union is going to steal back a officer who's breaking countless laws, have violated so many terms, and his taxpayers it's coming out their pocket. Some cities have said, okay, we'll pay the fee to the insurance to cover it. But Darwin, we're also going to do is this. We're going to go to hit that pension and get that money back. And I believe that's where you stop the blue wall of silence.
Absolutely.
When you hit those pensions back, because it shouldn't be on the taxpayers to pay for services that officers did. And say, okay, we'll pay for it, but we're taking it out your pensions.
Well, see, Norman, Alexis, that's the key thing, is that if you take money from their pockets, at the end, like you say, in that pension, there might be a second thought before an egregious act may be taken upon a person that they apprehend, or that they stop at a traffic stop, or that they go to their apartment and, and something happens. There's a lot of great police officers, as we know, but those few that may cross the line, that's what really makes it bad for all the police officers when they're in a position like what happened in terms of, say, with Miss Massey, because all she did was just called and said that she thought that there may have been a burglary. And then this leads to all this happening. And just as what my guest, Cassie Amos, was saying in one of her poems, as she said, we don't want to go and keep enhancing the cemeteries, and with a lot of this senseless crime that goes on. But as you said, Alexis, too, I agree that this gentleman, the one that came to Miss Massey's home, that he had several incidents with previous police stations where he had some reprimands for things that he had done.
Absolutely.
So I think that, as you said, if you can't get insured, then you should not be able to work in the police department if you go from one police department to another, to another, to another. There needs to be some type of insurance that comes along with you to make certain that you can't just go in and get hired. Because if they're not going to insure you and something does happen, then the station, the city, the community is liable for what you may do.
Just like with bonding, right? A treasurer
That's-
has to
that's
be
exactly
bonded,
it.
a clerk has to be bonded,
Exactly.
right? So there should be some type of bonding. And then also, like again, you brought up the fact of the police union. Well, the police union basically says, hey, if you get fired from, and we'll use Highland Park Police Department, you get fired from Highland Park Police Department, well, your record doesn't follow you. Well, it should.
It should.
But 9 times out of 10, paperwork is, things happen, right? But your record should automatically follow you from the previous department. And that way, the next department you're trying to move to can assess, right, what type of officer you were that ultimately either you got released or you left, but what's the reason why? Or sometimes forced into, as they say, early retirement, and then your record becomes sealed. So I think what we have to do as citizens, as elected officials, we need to really start pressing the police union for reform, right?
Yes.
That's where it starts, right? Again, we have to protect our officers. I mean, we don't know. Just think, you don't know when you roll up on a vehicle that you may be stopping what that individual is thinking. So I'm not taking anything away from how dangerous the job is and for them to put their lives on the line each and every day.
Right.
But we also need protections for citizens. There should be no way with this Miss Massey, the first thing you did was grab a gun, right? There should be steps, right? If you can't talk her down, did anybody think about a taser maybe? Just a thought. Right before you went to actually physically grabbing a gun and shooting this woman multiple times in her home. There should be, like, if you miss that step of whatever, I don't know if it goes from, first trying to de-escalate, and then if you can't de-escalate, does it go to taser? If it doesn't, if you can't get them down with the taser at that, point, and you can't get them under control, with cuffs or whatever, then you have to go to your next thing, which would be your actual weapon. But I also think we need to start limiting how many shots you can actually let off on one person. I mean, you have people getting shot 18 times in the back, right, by multiple officers who's running away. So we have so many examples of what is wrong. But again, let's figure, how do we get to the solution? Solution is, 1, police reform when it comes to the union. 2, I believe officers should have to have some type of bonding or insurance. Let's start there.
Yeah, and even if, and I totally agree, with the situation where the guy was 6 or 7 departments alone. And again, what changes behavior mostly is either you are innately, you come in and something happens to you, or you get punished by something and you understand what happens. And trust me, believe, if you have an officer that caused all those problems, I know good officers that work at DPD hate bad officers.
Yes.
They make the job a lot harder. And so the thing is that once you hit that pension, oh wait a minute, my pockets are getting affected. Okay, you'll see a bunch of them. You gotta go. You gotta go. You gotta go. You gotta go.
My father always says, you want to mess with somebody, start messing with those pockets. Right?
That's a changeable labor.
And you will get the result that you're looking for. So, it's just, we are here now, right? We know that not only just President Trump, but the Republican Party, and I don't want to say Democrats aren't for police officers, but I think we have to come to some type of understanding where everybody can get on the same page to say police reform is needed.
Yeah, and
right. I mean, at one point under the Trump presidency, not saying it's not happening now, but under the Trump presidency from really 2020 all the way up to 2024 almost. I mean, every day there was someone being shot. we were getting shot down like dogs in the street. I don't know, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And so, do I believe that we should definitely back our officers? Absolutely. Do I think officers need more funding? Absolutely. But I also believe that we have to start putting mental health specialists,
Especially that.
in the cars or not too far behind police officers when they're going into a mental health situation, because most officers are not trained to deal with a person who's having a mental breakdown.
And then that's a unique thing about the city of Detroit. Crime is all the way down. I'm thinking of groups, Force Detroit. I'm thinking about groups by New Era Detroit. Shout out to Zeke. These guys go into community policing, community organizations.
Detroit 300.
Detroit 300, yes, ma'am. And so they go into the community. It was a great program that Detroit had to go have community trusted partners in the city, go to these communities, talk to them about how to stop crime as crime is going on. Guy calls somebody here, hey man, it's okay, you're having a mental breakdown. Somebody talk to you. That could have escalated if some officers come up. And then sometimes we ask our officers to do protection, social work,
Mama,
daddy, all that stuff. And so, and you talking about officers are working 12 hours, sometimes 15-hour shifts, and only getting paid $45,000. We also need to control the dollars that are going to police officers to perform, going to the department and say, okay, we're not trying to militarize the police officers. You cannot buy all this doggone equipment with that money. What you need to do is hire more officers, give them more support, better hours, better situations, so that balance will be there. They can also take a break.
Absolutely.
And
Like cross community.
Community. And also work with community partnerships. Detroit, I'm happy they brought back the cadet program this year, because young people are working with them. Young people are working with the job, so it creates a synergy. I've known many police officers right now in the force that when I was working in Uvalde, Detroit, they came through that building. And it's so refreshing. You say, hey, what's going on? What's going on? And you see people that you never thought your mind would be a police officer that want to be a police officer. And so that is the type of grounding that we have, that folks do want to serve who look like us. They want to serve a community.
Absolutely.
But we needed to better foster that relationship, better community-wise, training, but also reforming-wise, where we're not just having them go out there to protect the law, but also protect the community, foster relationships, and buying into a safe environment.
Absolutely. Now, I'll just real quick, Darwin, I'm sorry, but I do want to just give a big shout out right now, since, we're in Highland Park, to our police chief, Chief McMahon. He's really come and, and has really trying to do innovative things in our department. And we do have limited officers here, but with the amount of officers that we have, and that's another thing he's focusing on, is trying to hire Highland Park residents, right, as officers, because he believes that, hey, if you live in the neighborhood, you're going to protect the neighborhood a little bit different. Now, we know you can't force any officers to move, but he's also has been, looking at how can we possibly start selling homes to officers who we currently have, right? So he's really taken, and this is our first white police chief that we've had in over 50 years here in the city. And I don't look at it as black and white, because we had great Chief Thomas prior to that, Chief Logan. So we've had great chiefs. But I will say that with Chief McMahon, he's doing a phenomenal job with the limited resources that we have here in the city. He's upgraded a lot of our systems. We have chatting with the chief now, where you can actually have a conversation with the chief once, I think it's either once or twice a month here in the city, where, he sits down, he talks to you, he talks about new programs. They brought in Narcan training. I mean, he's really being innovative. And so I'm saying that maybe other departments, right, can look at what we're doing here in Highland Park and, and begin to start doing sensitivity training. That's another thing that he's focused on here in the city as well, is saying, hey, a lot of our officers don't come from an urban neighborhood, right, or environment. So when they come here, when we get a little loud, it doesn't mean that we're being aggressive.
Right.
That's just the way we speak. And so he understands that. So again, I just wanted to give a shout out to the Highland Park Police Department and the great job that they're doing in trying to reform the department and move the department forward.
I know Chief McMahon will appreciate you
for
saying that.
Oh yeah, no, it's true though, because I've had to have an incident where the police have had to come to my home, and the response was within 2 minutes. Nice. So you cannot not, and it's not just because they had to come to my home, but I'm hearing different stories from other people throughout the neighborhood as well, on how the police response is there, how the officers are more courteous when they're coming. I mean, how they're just riding down the street and, just may stop and just have a conversation with you now. Unlike before, you saw the police, they keep on going and don't even say anything. But the chief has made it where he says, hey, if you see someone outside cutting their grass, pull over, talk to that person, find out who they are, find out, what their needs are, because you never know what could be happening in that sector of the city, and something different is happening down on the other sector of the city. So he's really trying to really bring reform within, you know what I'm saying, the department, and I believe that it always starts at the head. Same thing with James Craig doing James White, right?
Yeah.
White. With Chief White, and the reform that he's doing in the city of Detroit, when it comes to paying officers more, making sure that when we recruit you kind of, you just can't up and leave us. Right, and get the training, then decide to go out to another department in New Hudson or somewhere like that. So he's really trying to retain officers at the community policing that they brought in, Detroit 300, New Era, all these different organizations to address. I think that was under Craig doing was it blue light, green light, whatever it is.
Yeah, Craig did the blue light, green light. This one is under White, with the community departments coming in with the state of Michigan, and also with Mayor Duggan implementation.
Absolutely, and the crime rates have gone down. I mean, I'll tell you, if I'm out at 2:00 in the morning and I stop at a liquor store around 1:45 right before it's time to close, I'm happy to see Detroit 300, patrolling in the area, or just stopping to say, hey, we're going to stay here for the next 15 minutes, right? Until closing time, so that we make sure that, people can get in and get out safely. They're not, they're addressing fights and guns and just everything with the support of the police department. So, again, change is what's needed.
Yeah.
What you
But
think,
the thing is that when you see a lot of police officers now in neighborhoods pulling over and not intimidating people when they pull over, to talk to them as they're walking down the street, or if they're in at a gas station or at a liquor store or something like that, that they're just having conversation with them. And the other thing that it brings to mind is, do you think that the police need to live in the cities that they work in?
I do.
Yeah, I was going to say I do, right? But again, state law prevents that now. I forgot what case it was, but there was a case brought where, we used to have residency. That's what they called it. So should they bring residency back? Yes, I think they should. But, the question is, do we have the housing stock, right? For instance, in the city of Detroit, to bring back all of these officers to live, so I think that we have to figure out that piece prior to, but it should definitely be a conversation.
I mean, it makes you think back to what you said earlier, Alexis, about hiring people that live in Highland Park to be police officers, because they know the people that they are protecting and serving in the community. And it's interesting when you can walk up to somebody and call them Alexis or Norman, as opposed to saying, hey, you, and not knowing who they are. And it's the same concept that a lot of people use, especially when you see people in some of the gas stations, some of the supermarkets. They have greeters or sometimes clerks that actually, live in the neighborhood, so that when people come in, they can actually greet that person and, be, probably to extend more courtesy to that individual, telling them to have a great day when they complete their, their purchase, or to even assist somebody, with something that they're doing, to make sure that they could get a jitney to come and get a senior citizen that may have to carry 5 or 6 bags home and walk to do something like that. So I see a big difference in that. And then plus, if the person knows somebody, there's probably a less likely propensity for them to do something, like especially in the gas stations. You may see somebody at the gas station that works behind the counter that knows most of the people that come into the gas station. So that might stop somebody from wanting to shoplift or take something that they didn't pay for. And the same thing when it comes to even starting some kind of incident to happen, when you can de-escalate a situation that could escalate into something a whole lot worse, you know, than say something like that. But we've got 1 minute, so we're about to take a little break first. But Alexis, hold that thought, put a pin in that, and we're going to come right back to you, Alexis. You'll have the first comment when we come back to Truth to Power. I'm your host. I've got guests Alexis Ramsey and Norman Clement, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Your radio is now on TV. Your TV is now on radio. WHPR 88.1 FM can now be heard and seen worldwide. The same platform that hosts all of your favorite content now has WHPR TV and radio. Have your own radio or TV show on Roku with approximately 8 million homes. Debut your music video, clothing line, church ministry, plays, or products. A limited number of slots are available, so act now. For more information, visit RokuDetroit.com or call 313-868-6612. You heard about it. Now come be a part of it. Roku Detroit worldwide. Approximately 8 million viewers. TV 33 is moving to WHPS TV channel 15.2. Make sure to rescan the channels on your TV. Then go to WHPS channel 15.2 to pick up TV 33 and all of your favorite shows. The move is on, and we want you to move with us to WHPS channel 15.2. Now you can watch WHPR TV 33 on Fire Stick. Catch all of your favorites. Stay informed. Don't miss a minute of your favorite talk shows. Call, text, tweet, post. WHPR TV 33 is worldwide on Fire Stick. For more information, go to FirestickTVNetwork.com or call us at 313-868-6612. WHPR TV 33, a Watkins Broadcasting Company.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Mattered. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
Claudine Jackson thought she had it all until she was faced with the challenges of raising an autistic child. Inspired by autism is her brutally honest journey filled with heartbreak and triumph. Get your copy and find the support you deserve today by visiting www.claudinejackson.tv.
WGPR Detroit HD2.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
And welcome back to Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and I'm here with my special guest, Ms. Alexis Ramsey and Mr. Norman Clement. But Alexis, you know, we were talking during the break in terms of, say, about making certain that people get their due, in terms of saying, I appreciate what you were saying about Chief McMahon and also about Chief White, you know, and some of the things that they're doing, and they're trying to make the reform, you know, in the community. And one of the things that, as you both were saying too, we see a reduction in crime, but at the same time too, we're also seeing an uptick when it comes down to like what happened at that block party, where all those people were, injured at that block party, and a couple of people were killed, as a result. But you see people out there, like you said, with the various different policing organizations, and also with like Detroit 300, or with some of the other groups. I think I see Tafari Brent, and I see others that are out there doing, so much. But the thing is that we see now a lot of good-natured stories from the police. I was watching a story the other day where it was kind of interesting. The DoorDash driver had a problem with his vehicle. And it was interesting because a police officer pulled up to the DoorDash driver and asked him, and the DoorDash driver was really concerned about getting that delivery to his customer. And I could imagine the look of that person's face when they saw a police officer bringing their groceries or bringing that package, that meal to them. And that probably would have been priceless to see that reaction on that person's face, to see the police standing there at the door. But that just shows you sometimes, the things that police do to try and pretty much like to cultivate good public relations, with people, and helping someone. I've seen police officers that have gone by and stopped and bought a lot of lemonade at lemonade stands that children have. I've seen police that have stopped, and how you see a lot of young people selling bottled waters on hot days, and they've bought, like 5 or 6 bottles of water. And in some cases, they know they don't drink all that much water, but at least ways they wanted to support those young people that are out there doing something like that.
Absolutely.
So it's nice when you see little things like that, occurring, but there's always two ways to kind of spin it. In terms of say, well, you got the naysayers that may say, well, if that person wasn't out there doing such and such something, they might have been policing and something else. They could have been trolling, and somebody else might not have gotten their business burglarized or something like that. So, I mean, there's always that, seeing that glass full or that glass empty.
Right.
But Norman, I know that you were mentioning too about the your list in terms of saying, I think we kind of covered your first point.
Right.
So did you have a point number 2 that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, point number 2, I'm happy for the return of 4 hostages that were abroad from Russia. The Biden administration been doing this effort for probably over a year and a half with negotiators. They actually brought 4 of them home. The goal was to bring 5. Unfortunately, Alexei Navalny was killed in prison. And so he was able to bring them back. And normally with Russia, you normally don't get those one-off trades that happen like that. And so on a global scale, there is something that we could look at where the power of Russia and Putin is probably waning a little bit. We know that China is a bigger player, or is influencing Russia right now because of the war in Ukraine. Also, we're looking at, there was supposed to be a formation of a 4-tier government between Russia, China, India, and also South Africa. Well, the political spectrum has changed in both of those nations. South Africa, the ANC, has lost majority power for the first time in 28 years since before Mandela. After that, Modi has also lost power in the parliament. And so they don't have those strongmen anymore. Also, with France had the election last week, and they're more left-leaning government now. And then 4th of July, the UK had an election, and it is Labour and the SNP party would put the Conservatives out. Conservatives were in control for 20 years. And so that dynamic change is going on. So I believe that, the Biden administration with the Ukraine, now people are happy about the Ukraine, money goes to support Ukraine. But the thing about it is this, is actually, unfortunately I have to say this, it's cheaper to send money of that magnitude over there than your son or daughters. If you did not send support to Ukraine, What will happen is that he will invade another NATO nation. And once he does that, that triggers Article 5, a national war, and so everybody will go to war against Russia.
Absolutely.
And so we don't know what China will bring, another bring. So you have to fight this battle with the most saved. What's your precious asset? Your sons and daughters fighting in the U.S. Army. Even though we're definitely capable to do that, that is probably a last resort to send someone's son or daughter to war, and in a global war at that. And so this is, you could say what you want. This is actually how you weaken a nation that has been over a totalitarian government that's been really overstepping bounds. You support dollars, training to Ukraine, and so you get this trade to happen. And do not be surprised. There's a reason why he went to North Korea to beg for missiles and money.
Absolutely.
He's losing power left and right. And so Russia is no longer really at the fortune. So right now, I mean, you look at the strategy with the NATO nations leading by the United States, and also with VP Harris, you look at it and say, hey, that tactic of donating dollars and giving money for they can fight to keep their land is draining the Russian army, is actually working.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you both too. I know somebody called me today and was asking me what we're going to talk about this topic on Truth to Power this morning, and they had made a comment to me that they thought it was kind of interesting right before the primary that this occurs, and was wondering in terms of say how come this couldn't have gotten done sooner, and because you look at Brittany Griner was released almost a year and a half ago when they were waiting to try and see, Whelan's family was concerned whether or not what about me?
Right.
What about him? Can he, also get on that, plane and be able to come back to his loved ones, back here in the United States?
Yeah, and so with that, Brittany Griner was taken right before the invasion of Ukraine. And so at that time, Russia, the political winds were different. Modi had totally power of the Indian government. China was a bigger player. South Africa, the ANC was there. Also, China had influence in Africa itself. Now those things have changed. So it took her longer to get Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner was targeted to come over there the first time. And she's been over there many times. Most of those oligarchs pick favors for Russia. And so she was targeted to come out there in the first place. And so it took longer because he had a little power. Fast forward to now with the Whelan family now, and the Whelan had to wait. Political winds have shifted. You don't have ultimate power again, India, because Modi was buying all the oil from Russia. And so some type of way of the sanctions, that was how Russia would be able to get by. The second thing is that the Chinese influence is no longer really financing Russia that way. And so we're looking at it as a desperate situation to get on. I mean, they weren't even talking to North Korea. And so now they're going to North Korea getting support, and also the ANC has to now really align with their past mortal enemy, the Democratic Alliance.
Exactly.
And that's a right-leaning form of government in South Africa. They have to combine together. And so it continues to weaken. And so now you got 4 hostages out. Whelan's been there for the longest. You got him out. And now when you got him out, and you had to take in other partners to get him out, that lets me be, okay, they're in a desperate situation. Because the people that they got back are people that could go on the internet for IT fraud, people who could go into, who are assassins, people that go into all type of, you're talking about scammers, affairs, stuff like that. These are military intel assets. So you're desperate. You're in need of it because, some of his assets are gone. They're on the battlefield. They died. And so you're talking about somebody that doesn't have a lot of men that left the country. 2 million men left the country. Another men are coming in fighting the Ukraine war. Also, you're taking people from other countries to come fight for that Ukraine war.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. So who did we trade to get them back?
I'm not sure because that's the question.
And see that's my question right now
there.
is that we're always I am happy to hear about Whelan and other 3 coming home. But normally we hear what the trade was and who we, what was the trade. So I'm still I'm a firm believer is the devil's in the details.
Right.
I am, again, ecstatic to see our American citizens return home, right? Because they should be on their American land, on their soil. But I need to know, what did they give up? Who
Right.
did they give back? What dollars possibly did we commit? We don't know all those details. So again, I'm happy, but I want to know more. So that's why I was asking, because that's kind of what I was
Like, who
looking
do we
for,
give up and
right?
everything.
When I was reading, different news articles, like, okay, that's great, right? Okay, yay, they're coming home. But what did the United States have to negotiate to pull this off?
Right, and they had to partner with other countries because
Right.
the United States didn't hold those guys over there. These guys were in Germany. These guys were in Sweden. These guys were in somewhere else.
You get what I'm
So
saying?
I
So,
guess
yeah.
so like the first
yeah.
one we knew because everybody knew him as the. It was a movie made him about.
He was the killer. He
was-
was
he was an arms dealer.
The arms dealer, yes.
And so they made that known. And so for Brittany Griner, so that's the first one he wanted back. So these guys he want back. And again, I think the biggest trade was the release of Alexei Navalny. When
Yeah.
Alexei Navalny died in prison, I think that trade that he wanted really, he might get some people back, but not as
That was hurt.
that was bad, and
Yeah.
not as dangerous as they want to be.
Yeah.
And so it's because the United States doesn't hold them, as allegedly, but we don't know we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I shout out to the Secretary Blinken on
Absolutely.
working on this, and
Vice President
Harris,
Harris,
yes.
because this is her wheelhouse.
No,
like
this-
a lot of people don't understand that this
This is
falls under the Vice
President.
President when it comes to negotiating the release of individuals who have been captured by other countries. So I think again, we will give kudos because at the end of the day, the president has to sign off ultimately
But-
on the final deal.
but the
who's
details,
the devil's in the
details
details,
is
and
VP
who's doing the
Harris.
negotiation at the table is Blinken
And
and VP Harris. So.
But I thought it was very impressive when I was watching them coming off the plane and how both Harris and Biden were both there, to greet
Absolutely.
those hostages when they came out the plane. And even before they got a chance to go and embrace their families, the president and the vice president were right there, embracing them, and making certain that they understood the importance of, as you said, being back on American soil, being able to look at their loved ones and be able to embrace them, at the same time. So that makes a big difference. But as you said, Norman, there was a lot of different pieces that were put into that. So, we're just thankful that all this was said and done. There may be people that might come back and say, well, they think there was a political something to try and do this right before the Democratic convention, but the point is, regardless of what people may say in terms of say about how and why and what and all that, as regard to these hostages, they're home.
Well, let me just say, as a strategist, I'm just saying, you think this was politically motivated in order to help get votes in August? I don't see it that way. Because as a strategist, I would have did it closer to November, right? I would have done it around September, mid-September, if I'm going after votes. I just believe it was timing. We don't know, the timing just happened at this particular moment in time. And I honest, just my own self, just looking at it, like I said, from a strategic standpoint, it doesn't benefit us in any type of way right now in this primary.
Absolutely, what Alexa said. And plus, remember, Putin is a Trump guy. If I'm a strategist, I know that I want my guy back in because when my guy was back in, I did what I wanted.
Well, let me say something. I don't know if Putin was just blowing smoke, but I heard an interview that he did. And he said that he would prefer having someone like a Joe Biden or, now VP Harris or, a President Obama, because he said he knows their moves. Because they're traditional politicians or public servants, whatever they choose to call themselves at the time. But he knows exactly what to expect. He knows what negotiations are going to look like. He knows you know, what their next, he can anticipate possibly their next move. He said with Trump, you know, which is his danger. He says, because we don't know what he's going to do, right? He said 1 minute we could be fine, and then the next minute he's over here, you know, threatening to blow us up. So the question is did this help us? Or is this hurt? You get where I'm coming from?
Yeah,
because I'm trying to figure that piece out.
So with Putin, you understand that he's a spy. And so when Trump was in office, he had free reign amongst the White House.
When he brought that soccer ball, we all
knew.
knew.
Soccer ball, you know, he brought all that in. And so he had free reign, had to do what he wanted to do. Once Vice President got in the house, in the office, pretty much that stopped. What happened was this worst fear happened. Sweden and Finland joined the NATO. And so now they would control that wall. So he might have been saying that to try to throw it off and stuff like that. Everybody knows.
He said he's unpredictable.
He was
That's
unpredictable.
what he said.
That's what's unpredictable. Which he's unpredictable, meaning that I control him, and I'm just telling you what you want to hear. And same thing where other leadership will prefer him because they can do what they want to do. They can have power, and you know they can also with him. It's easier to flatter and manipulate him.
Yeah,
it's very, very easy. Then we love him. Whereas you deal with a Vice President Harris, there's always going to be a trust and verify. We got to deal with devils and details. We know how you work. Are you going to benefit the United States of America?
Absolutely.
Or what's going to go on? And so, it's known to that. And so, like I safe to say, number one, if you're trying to go to Russia, please don't.
I would be careful traveling pretty much anywhere right now. I mean, even over to Jamaica, it's not safe for us to go right now. So I always tell people, please go look at, you know, what is it, the CDC website, right, or the traveler's website prior to leaving the country to see where we are. Are we in the red, or the green, right?
But,
and what's the threat level when you get ready to go over there?
But with traveling, in a lighter note, the 5 girls that from Olympic gold, they're called F Around and Find Out. Simone Biles, Simone Biles, Simone Biles. That's all I gotta say. If you get a chance to watch the Olympics yesterday and what they're doing this week, they call themselves the 5 gymnasts come to F Around and Find Out.
But you know, something that's so interesting, I was...
they did a phenomenal job.
I was meeting with my Building Black Brickmasters group last night, and we got to talking about why are people taking away from her being a celebrated Olympic gymnast, motivating and inspiring her fellow gymnasts, motivating and inspiring a lot of young people that may say, I think I can.
She's the
to
GOAT.
see her say she's the greatest of all time. And the thing is that she's inspirational to a lot of people, not just in gymnastics, but in even other Olympics. Because look at all the people, you know, you had Phelps, the swimmer, that won gold so many times himself. You had a lot of athletes as well as entertainers that were there to watch her compete. And the thing that really got me, what we talked about last night in my meeting, was that you had some people, I don't know how many, but you had a few people that mentioned about her and her hair and talked about the fact that she had a black or a blue scrunchie that was tied her hair up in a little bun in the back and put more attention on that scrunchie and putting her hair up than they did about the feat that she had done in all these Olympics, winning gold. So that really amazed me why people would go and spend more time talking about that. Just like the same thing that people were talking about Megan Thee Stallion. When you had Harris was at an event, and I guess Megan Thee Stallion was out there twerking.
She was her opening act. Now,
right, and you know, but you're putting more attention on other aspects.
Yeah.
And just like even in these ads that I'm not sure who's putting these ads out, where they show Vice President Kamala Harris dancing in the beginning of this ad that they put
That's
out.
a Trump ad.
You know,
I know what you're talking about.
but the point is that, is this all you got? You know, and that's what really gets me. Is this all you got?
Well, let me just say that Megan Thee Stallion, I am a fan. You know, I like her music. I think she's a great artist. But I will say that for this to be a political rally for our Vice President of the United States, that particular dance that she did on the stage may have been a little too provocative for the audience.
I totally disagree.
I'm sure you do. But what I'm saying is that if you're trying to get the young people in, that's great, right? But
Right.
I do think that when you like, I use Beyonce as she's come out and she's rallied, right? But her dress is a little bit different. The way that she performs is a little bit different at a political event. This is not your hot girl summer. You weren't up there at Shane Park at a concert, okay? This was an introduction to the Vice President of the United States, a Vice President of the United States, presidential hopeful, right? And for me, and I'm a person that, I don't judge anybody. I think, it's great. Now, I'm glad to see the young people coming in again. But the performance was a little much. I'm just saying, like, all the twerking, the little half cut off shirt. It wasn't right for I watched the audience, right? I'm a people person. I'm a person who likes to watch the behavior, because for me, 10% of what come out of people's mouth, 90% of what comes out of people's mouth is BS. And 10%, 90% is body language, 10% is actual truth what's coming out of somebody's mouth. Let me get that together.
Right.
So what I'm saying is I'm watching the body language, and I just think that I'm not saying she can't be a part of the campaign, but we're going to have to tailor that down a little bit. We're going to have to tailor that performance down just some, again, because we don't need to be over-sexualized as black women. We're already over-sexualized, right? We don't need that for our presidential nominee, with them out there just shaking and moving and grinding, and it was a lot. It was, and again, I'm a moderate conservative Democrat. I understand that, but that was just a little bit much for me.
Okay, so you got to think about what city. They're in Atlanta. And the demographic that Megan Thee Stallion is the ones that we need to get out to vote.
I understand.
The Z, the Generation Z, aka I call them the Thundercats. The Thundercats are going to Thundercat. They're going to Thundercat. And so her twerking, you gotta know who it is.
It wasn't just the twerk. It was the lyrics. Nobody actually honed in on the lyrics as well.
Yeah,
it was a little much.
Okay, the lyrics were okay.
Yeah.
We're like, ooh, wait a minute, you should have just, But again, Megan's coming off a tour. She's doing a tour. She's excited to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Again, I do not want her following her cult to come after us.
Right.
She's a great individual. Again, we just got to tailor.
Right.
We got to just tailor what she's doing for political events. That's
Well, I will say this. I know it probably will be tailored.
It has to.
It probably will be tailored.
Yeah.
I think her just coming out being excited to be chosen number one. I'm coming out to a group of people. I'm back in this voice. Harris, I came on board immediately, no questions asked. So people are excited. And then I think the thing is that with the Thundercats, and I grew up in the Luke era. So I can't. The Thundercats are going to Thundercat. Whatever gets them going to vote.
But
I hear what you're
I'm
saying.
just saying, I don't think that
That crowd
with Luke, right? Let's use Luke, right? I don't think that Bill Clinton, because Luke is around the Bill Clinton era, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, am I right? Because it's a little before my time. But what I'm saying is that I don't think we would have had pop, pop, ba-da, pop, pop, from Luke.
Yeah.
And having Clinton walk out. You get where I'm coming from? We got to tailor it. I get it. I understand it. I get you galvanizing the people. I get you, trying to pull in Gen Z. You want to be that cool. I understand all that. But again, it was over-sexualized. It was a little bit much, and it did not go over with the audience that they had at that particular rally. I mean, you got grandmothers, okay, sitting in the front row, okay, of this performance. I mean, clutch my pearls. I mean, and again,
But grandmama's never mind.
I'm talking about grandma. I'm not talking about new grandmas.
I'm talking
Okay,
new grandmothers.
I'm talking
New
about
grandmothers.
like
Yeah.
we had our seasoned citizens
Right.
in their 70s and 80s, kind of in that front row, and you're watching
Yeah.
a young lady not only gyrating in that way, but you're also listening to some lyrics that I just don't think was positive for the campaign, because again, that's what they're going to focus on. Let's not give them anything to shoot
Yeah.
to shoot, to give. Let's not give them the ammunition that they
And-
need. in order to shoot us
okay,
down.
I hear
That's what I'm saying.
I hear your sentiments on that,
Yeah.
and I think about what to say over sexually with black women, especially our young girls that happen.
Absolutely, yeah.
But you know,
You don't have to sell
the
it that
thing,
way.
The thing is that you don't want to lose the message
right?
of what's being said, and that's what thing that when we come back from break, that we'll talk a little bit more, about that part at the same time. All right, you've been watching Truth to Power with my special guests, Alexis Ramsey and Norman Clement. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and stay tuned. We've got another half an hour that we will spend with you, so stay tuned for us.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Tune in to the I Love the Hustle show, Saturday afternoons at 12 p.m., followed by Mr. Smooth's Ballroom and Steppers Express Dance Show on WHPR 15.2 Detroit, Apple TV, Roku, and many streaming platforms. See you Saturday.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help. Hi, I'm
All
Eric
media
Sabria.
platforms are engaged. Get ready to launch your show or product. Periscope ready. We're 5x5 ready to launch. Copy that. Trend worldwide across all major platforms. The world is waiting. Watkins Broadcasting. More than just TV.
And welcome back to Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, with my special guest today, Ms. Alexis Ramsey, Mr. Norman Clement. But before we conclude our last half an hour, just again wanted to let people know that we were anticipating a debate last Friday with two congressional candidates that are running for the office of U.S. Senate, Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin, and actor and author Hill Harper. And Mr. R.J. Watkins of Watkins Broadcasting, the owner of WHPR TV 33, wants to address that issue as to why that debate did not manifest here at the station. There were a lot of powers that be that came into play, and Mr. Watkins wants to address that with the WHPR listening audience. So next Friday, he will do that. He will do that in its entirety because he's met with people to discuss exactly why it didn't happen and what are the steps that are needed forward to make certain that there's going to be a peaceful resolution from that and not having to go and have that show that so many people wanted to see. Because there were a lot of people that wanted to hear it, they wanted to see it, they wanted to hear what both of the candidates for that Senate seat had to say. And I'm talking to people even as yesterday at a meeting I was at, that somebody said that they were in Houston, Texas, and they were anticipating hearing and seeing this debate between Congresswoman Slotkin and actor Hill Harper. So again, Mr. Watkins will address that issue, and he will talk in its entirety, you know, in terms of what happened and why and who and what can be done as far as, say, in the future. But with that note, I think that it's important now that everybody knows what's going to occur next Tuesday, August the 6th, and this is nationwide, and this is Election Day. And I think during this last half an hour, myself, Norman, Alexis, we can talk a little bit more about the importance of making certain that people get out to vote. I think we've mentioned this before, that people that may think that their vote doesn't matter, or because this is a primary election, that it's not really that important. But there's a lot of importance in this primary election. And the main thing is, as we've talked before, is about the ballot. And there are people that have absentee ballot voted already. There are people that are currently early voting and taking advantage of that opportunity to vote 9 days prior to the election day. And they have all the way up until this Sunday to early vote. There's going to be a break on the 5th, and then on the 6th, they will be able to go in and vote at their primary sites. So the important part is that we want to make it imperative that people not only get out and vote, but they encourage, or in other cases, take people to the polls with them. If there are people that have excuses for why they can't vote, because they don't have the transportation, or they may not have the means in terms of saying understand totally about the ballot, there's sites that they can go on and they can actually have gotten a sample ballot from their clerk's office to be able to see who's on the ballot. And then the other thing is to make certain that when they do see their ballot and they start voting, that they flip the ballot over, because there's so much information on both sides of the ballot. There are people that depend on your support, from judges, school board candidates, and others that are on the reverse side of the ballot. So it's not just looking at the senatorial candidates or looking at some of the House representatives that are running and looking for your support. There are also candidates that are running for, and we talked about this last time, that are running for positions like school board, positions for your state representatives,
County commissioner.
county commissioners. So there's so many different positions that people are looking for your support on. But again, the main thing is vote, and vote your conscience. And if you haven't had an opportunity to research the candidates, please do. All the way from the candidates that are involved in a lot of fundraising activities, they're going to the churches, they're going to community events, they're going to concerts, and they're looking for your support. There are town hall meetings, they're meeting with you at coffee shops. So look you can look on social media, and you can even go to their pages and see where they're going to be active at or where they're going to be speaking at. So again, the main thing is make sure that you get out and vote and take other souls to the polls as well as your souls to the polls as well. Alexis,
Yes.
there's so much more that we have that's going on in the community, in the nation. And in this last half an hour that we have, I know I was mentioning, Norman, I'll get to the last two topics that you had on your list when you had your 4 different topics. But Alexis, I'd be remiss. What's most on your mind right now?
Right now, what's most on my mind is ensuring that we get people to show up and get out and vote, right? And so I just want to remind people that on Saturday, March 3rd, at 2937 East Grand Boulevard, that's where we're going to start our march, right? We'll start our march there, and we're going to take our absentee ballots that you have, and we're going to drop them off at the Detroit Clerk's office. So it's so many different organizations that will be involved. You have Chroma, Planned Parenthood, tons of other Michigan organizations who are all going to meet again Saturday, August 3rd from 12 to 2:30. We'll meet at 2937 East Grand Boulevard, and that's where, you'll start your march. Right. Yep, you'll start your march there. We're going to march down, and we're going to drop our ballots in the ballot box down at the Detroit Elections Commission. So you have multiple events like that going on as well. I guess right now this weekend is I'm focused. All of us, right, are focusing on making sure that we get our last push out on knocking doors to ensure people are showing up to vote. Strategizing right now, making sure that we have enough people to cover polls. Right. Signage going out. Logistics of what this looks like. On election day and things like that. So right now, I guess my main concern is ensuring people show up. Attend events like you were saying, Darwin, go on social media, get involved. But if you do not choose to early vote from now until Sunday, you still have time on Monday to drop your absentee ballot off, or you can drop your absentee ballot off as well on Tuesday up until 8 p.m. Yep. Take it to your clerk's office, or you can do in-person voting actually on Tuesday. So all I'm saying is exercise your right. Because again, Project 2025 is really trying to not allow us to exercise our right. So, I was telling someone this the other day, that, a lot of times the little boy who cried wolf, right? You kept saying, well, the wolf is coming, and then there was no wolf. And you say the wolf is coming, and then there was no wolf. But I want people to really understand this election. We're not crying wolf. Democracy is on the line this time. Absolutely. Right? And I want people to really understand that the wolf is knocking at the door.
Well, the wolf told everyone that on earlier in last week, it says, come on, Christians, vote for me one time, and that's it. We're not going to have this problem anymore.
Absolutely, because they're going to push Project 2025, which will not allow us to have the civil rights that we currently have and be protected as one, being counted as a human. So we're not going to go down that line. Yeah. Right now, Darwin, the question was, what am I most focused on this weekend is getting out the vote, ensuring people are voting, going back, doubling down on people, from our list, saying, hey, we see you haven't turned in your absentee ballot. Is there something we could do? Can we assist you? Do you need us to assist you getting you to the poll? How can we get you to, turn that ballot in? So it's following up with the absentee ballots, strategizing, making sure we have enough people to cover the polls for certain campaigns on Tuesday, and just pushing as many people to get out to vote on Tuesday if you do not have the opportunity to take advantage of this 9 days early voting.
And see, that's one thing too, and I'll let you make a comment, Norman, too, is that That's one of the things that we're doing too, as you mentioned, Alexis, is that we're trying to make certain that people's excuses for not voting will be rectified. Because what we do with Detroit Downriver is that we're actually going to be going and actually picking people up. So it could be somebody who may have a physical challenge that can't get to the polls, and we're going to pick them up at their homes. And we're going to other places, like where there may be places that, like COTS or Mariners Inn or other places where persons may not have the transportation to get to their polling site to vote. And they know how important, as you said, both of you said, this election is. So we will be picking up people through Detroit Downriver A. Philip Randolph Institute and taking them to the polls. And not only do we take people to the polls, but we also wait on them to vote and then take them back home.
That's awesome.
So that's something we're going to be doing from 7 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night when the polls close. So if you would like to get more information, or you'd like to go on and schedule a ride to come on, and ride with us to transport you to the polls, go www.ddapri.com, and we can assist you with getting that information to pick you up and transport you to the polls. Norman.
Yeah, and so again, I actually went into the polls yesterday, did early voting to see how it was. Yeah, and so the beauty of it is that they have plenty of tabulators. It's not just like a absentee vote. You're actually voting right there.
Absolutely.
And so the tabulators, your vote goes in the system, it counts. Talked to some ladies there, said how's it been turnout. She said turnout is up and down. She said, but a lot of people are taking advantage of this early voting system. And so again, I encourage us. I know you guys we're doing something Saturday too. With the Warren. Saturday we're doing the Warren Clinic. Unfortunately, it's full because we have well over 3,000 folks that signed up for it.
And where's that?
That's going to be at Butzel Park, Butzel downtown, at Kirchhoff, right there, that rec center there.
Okay.
On Sunday, we are going to be at Floods. So we ask people to come to Floods because guess what? We're doing a clerk recruitment or poll watching volunteer.
Okay.
And so we also ask people to go out and coach, go out there and vote, but also be a part of the election process.
What time is that at Floods on Saturday?
Floods is going to be from 3 to 7 on Sunday.
Okay.
And so we're celebrating, number one, voting should be fun. Those who vote, congratulations, come out and celebrate. But also, any election, we have to do a better job to understand that voting is just one thing. The other thing is, organizing, telling that elected official, hey, we got you in the office. These are the things that the community you promise. We meet in the first 100 days, my brother or my sister, and keep it accountable. So that's the thing we're encouraging people about getting out to vote and really doing this because, again, if we don't do this now, there is no 2026. He will be king. And the only way you get rid of tyrants are two things. One, someone outside comes and invade and kicks them out, or it's going to be, there's only one way, is war. It's going to be a civil, or it's going to be an outside influence that comes in. And so people have to see what's going on and remind that, what's happening in Venezuela. So again, get out to vote. There's no excuses. We're not waiting until everybody get together. You can do it now. You don't have to wait for anybody else.
No lines, right?
No lines.
Things have really been moving, again with early voting. So I think right now we just have to remind people, I think, again, that the wolf is here. Like I just keep telling people that over and over and over again, the wolf is knocking at the door. And this is not just, I'm not just talking about Donald Trump. Right. I'm talking about policy moving forward within the House and the Senate.
Absolutely.
So I want people to understand that Trump can't do this alone, right? So it's critical that again you exercise your right, do what you but really start looking into and listening to, if you had a chance to listen to Joy Reid show, right? Yeah. All week she focused on what Project 2025 is. She broke it down. And I want people to really understand how this is going to affect African Americans moving forward.
Even if they say they disavow it, we made them step down the campaign. There are 250 people still working in his campaign who co-authored that book. Unfortunately, we have a Detroit native that's in that book, Ben Carson. So all skin folk and kinfolk, the ideal of that. And so going around town of those, like I said, we're talking to brothers that do support former President Trump. I always ask them one thing. Are you doing this so you could become the gatekeeper? Or this is something that you really believe in?
Absolutely.
And so some of these folks are becoming gatekeepers. Just remember that.
And then I just want people to also just, you know, if you get some time, I don't know if people know about SIX, which is a State Innovative Exchange, right?
Yes,
We're going to have our first conference.
Okay.
It's been a 10-year process with this SIX, okay? And SIX is something kind of like ALEC, right?
Yep.
If most people don't know what ALEC is the Republican Party's way of pushing through legislation, and it's just like you have this one domain where you can find legislation, you work state by state, whatever. SIX is kind of the same thing. It was created under President Obama. We will have our first conference coming up in Atlanta. I think it's November, around November sometime, October, November. I'll get the dates again. I just received the information, but I'm saying all this to say is that if you really want to know how legislation is made, how laws come about, if you are in your own town or your little city or whatever, and you want to know, come up with an event ordinance, right? You can go to SIX, which is SIX.org, and type in event for small cities, and you would be surprised how many different pieces of legislation will come up that you can possibly use for your own community. So I'm super excited that we have this new, this will be, again, our first conference in 10 years, and the focus will be, of course, Project 2025 and other things, but we're really trying to get as many elected leaders, community activists, political organizations like yourself to attend the conference to ensure that we're able to push this message out of legislation and how we are able to slow down, because again, our hope and our goal, right, will be that Vice President Harris will be the next president of the United States.
Right.
But we also have to have a contingency plan of what happens if that doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
So it's time for us to come together. And again, I hope to see you guys in Atlanta. For this conference, because I really think that this is something that will help empower the Democratic Party, just like the Republican Party, like I said, has ALEC. We do have SIX, so I want people to really start looking into that.
Yes.
Well, I think in the last 3 minutes that we have on the show, Alexis and Norman, let's talk about, now we know we've got a Democratic convention that's coming up, and that was a couple of weeks from now.
August 10th.
And that's going to be in Chicago.
No, so we have our state convention coming up in Lansing, August 10th, and then you have the DNC convention in Chicago that starts August 19th.
Yep.
And that's a 4-day.
That's a 4-day, so it's the 19th to the 22nd.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Now, from my understanding, I know that there's a lot of talk, well, not talk, but there's a definitive that Vice President Kamala Harris will be here next week.
Wednesday.
Saying that she's going to be here on Wednesday. There's also some conversation saying that she might even be here on Tuesday, but I know definitively on Wednesday. But there's talk about she may also possibly be bringing her VP candidate along with her. And in the few minutes that we have left, who do you think that person may be? I'll ask you first, Norman. Who do you think?
It's either between Gretchen Whitmore or Gary Peters. And I'm excited for either or, because when she wins the election, we'll know we'll have a black governor or a black senator. Both of them will be named, as them will be Gilchrist.
Well, see, I've been hearing that she has declined, that offer. So, but I have been hearing a lot of buzz about Senator Gary Peters. So there's people that have been saying in the beginning, they said that they thought that was a dark horse candidate, but now there's a lot of buzz about him because he can garner the labor movement to assist. And we see where Thane has endorsed Kamala Harris with UAW. Alexis, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I would love to see Governor Whitmer, Big Gretch, with the buffs. I would love to see her on the ticket. My question is the country ready? right, for two women. So for me to top two, now, of course, like I said, I would love to see that happen, but I don't even think our governor right now is, not saying that she doesn't want it, but I just think she's so involved in our state and what's happening right now. That's her focus, right? Is fixing the roads, fixing the schools, and other things that she has going on here, infrastructure, that type of thing. But to answer the question, my top two would be Senator Gary Peters and also Mark Kelly.
That's right.
So I believe both of them have what we need to create that balance when it comes to the office of presidency, right? Because you never know what could happen. And so that vice president, again, both of them have the backgrounds from military backgrounds. Both of them have the, backgrounds of, tell me, Norman, come on.
We both have backgrounds in dealing with veterans, also veterans system,
yeah.
and also background with the UAW,
Absolutely,
but also
yes.
Gary Peters also sits on the panel of security. So, he's trusted and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I just think, but like I said, both of them, and they both are like moderate and conservative, right? We do, the push right now is saying that, Vice President Harris, which I don't believe, but the push is saying, hey, she's a radical, she's a progressive. So however you want to feel about that, whatever. But what I'm saying is I do believe that her vice president pick needs to create that balance for a Democrat like myself. Right, who's more moderate and more on the conservative side when it comes to the party. So, again, I'm looking forward to the announcement, but I look at things, like I say, from a strategic mind as well. Her first rally, big rally, out with her VP pick will be here in Michigan.
Absolutely.
So let's just take a look at that, and if it is Senator Peters, or like I said, or Mark Kelly, either or.
Yeah.
I'm on board, but I'm definitely on board if it's Senator Peters, right? Because he's our Michigan guy.
Right.
Well, I think whoever it is, we got to rally around that.
Oh, absolutely.
And we need to make certain, too, that when we do rally around that person, we rally with 120% support, for that candidate. Because we know that we're in for a fight.
It's time to fall in line, right? We fall in love all the time, but it's time to fall in line.
And yeah.
Regardless, everybody's gonna have the issues, everybody's gonna have their problem, but let's fall in line, Democrats. Fall in line.
You're not electing Jesus Christ.
There you go.
You're not electing Jesus Christ or Jehovah, whoever. It's not your God that you're electing. You're electing a human being that will serve your best interests.
Absolutely.
Period.
To the best of their ability.
Best of their
there
ability.
You go. And no human is perfect.
Trump got in because of some emails. Come on.
Well, I think that, the main thing that we just have to make certain we do is we have to get out and vote. So
Absolutely.
Whatever we do, get out and vote August the 6th. And if you can do anything, please take someone with you to the polls. Because there's probably a lot of seniors out here that need to get out to the polls. They want to vote. Because as we both saying, her story could be made in November.
Will be.
Well, then I love your optimism.
Will be.
But again,
Speaking
you hopefully you're speaking this into existence. So I do want to say again that I want to thank Ms. Cassie Amos for our first half an hour with the motivational, speeches that she gave in the poetry. I do want to thank Mrs. Alexis Ramsey, who works with the House Representative Mike McFall in Highland Park. And what district is it, Alexis?
It's House District 8.
House District 8.
Currently,
Okay. Yeah. And then I want to thank Mr. Norman Clement of Detroit Change Initiative.
Thank you for having us
on the show today. But again, stay tuned next week. President Mr. R.J. Watkins will address the issue that did occur in terms of the event that was supposed to take place, the conversation, debate, as you may call it, last Friday on Truth to Power. But again, he will address that issue with you next week. So again, have a great rest of this weekend. Be safe and let someone know that you love them. But more than anything else, plan to vote on Election Day this coming Tuesday. Have a great rest of this day. Peace.